We want to welcome everybody to a special edition of Hawkeye Hangout here, featuring the one and only Coach Gary Close. Gary,
that's
how you
quite an
doing?
introduction.
Quite an introduction indeed. How are you doing?
Well, actually, I'm a little tired. I've had a long day today, but it was fun to finish it with some basketball and to be on the show. So looking forward to it.
I understand that when you're retired, you like to travel, but don't you think maybe you've done the old South Carolina thing enough, Gary?
No, we love it down there. It's
I know you do.
like the beach and the golf, and took my family down there, and actually had a brother and sister join me. So great weather, and so it was fun. We had a good time.
I don't blame you one bit. I'm assuming you golfed again. I ask you this every time.
Yeah. We played 3 or 4 times. Yeah, it was a good time.
Good for you. Well, we're going to be dealing with some severe weather again here. It looks like in Iowa over the next 24 hours. So that at least is a sign that the warmer times are ahead here in the state, and that we'll be able to get back on the links here in Iowa. So first business here, that's also a sign that we're into spring, is we've concluded our college basketball season. Another one in the books, Gary, and we're going to talk about 3 topics here. We've got you about 20 minutes or so this evening, and then I'll stay on and take calls until probably around midnight, however long people want to hang out here on the show to kind of wrap up the college basketball season. But tonight, the UConn Huskies defeating the Aztecs of San Diego State 76-59. I still can't get the score right, Gary. 76-59 in the national championship game. And let me just say this, just a weird championship, weird tournament, weird championship game. We talked all season, Gary, about how balanced college basketball was, and that really played itself out when you look at the Final Four, and you look at the national championship game. And yet you look at what UConn did in this tournament. They basically dominate every team they play. They win every game by double digits. How surprised were you at the Huskies?
Well, I really hadn't seen them play much all year, so I didn't have a real good feel for them. I was impressed early watching them, because they really went through a pretty strong field to get where they've got. I mean, they beat Gonzaga and St. Mary's are real good basketball teams, and Miami was playing really well, and so it wasn't a fluke. And like you said, they won double digits every game. So I think what everybody kind of says, they were playing their best basketball at the most important time and at both ends of the court. And I was real impressed as I watched them more and more. I was really impressed. They had a lot of weapons, and they were playing very well and very well coached, and they deserved it.
San Diego State was really good. Let's not take anything away from them. These are two
Definitely.
solid defensive teams. I mean, UConn holding the Aztecs to 59 in the national championship game speaks volumes. And neither of these teams, you don't look at star power as, I mean, obviously both these teams, you have to have really good players to be able to compete at this level. But these are just very balanced teams. Is this a sign, Gary, that college basketball has balanced itself out a bit due to the transfer portal, due to NIL, or are we just are we reacting a little bit quickly based on one season?
Well, it might be, but I think there's a chance of that. I think the other thing you throw in there is the better players are leaving after a year. They're just not staying. You look at a team like Indiana's losing their real strong players. One of them's a freshman. They just the young talented players do not stay anymore, and so it makes for maybe more so chemistry and things like that, and getting on a roll at the right time. UConn was a team that wasn't even ranked heading into the year and had a rough patch halfway through it. I don't think what were they, a 5 seed, 4 or 5 seed, maybe a 4 seed.
Yep.
It kind of goes to show that, when you can get on a roll, especially with all the parity we got in college basketball now, you can make a run.
And of course, the Final Four as a whole, FAU, a Cinderella this year, but a Cinderella, a team that won a lot of games in the regular season.
Yeah.
Creighton got hot late. They had struggles early for a while. It looked like they might not be a tournament team. I remember them losing to Nebraska early in the season. And we're, of course, relating this all back to Iowa. We're going to talk about kind of the final part of our segment with you tonight, Gary. I want to talk to you about what Iowa needs to do to take that next step. But I first want to reflect on what we saw yesterday. I know you have been following the Iowa women as much as all of us have. And
Sure.
I'm sure you were down in South Carolina when the Hawkeyes beat the Gamecocks a couple days ago. So, first of all, what an incredible run. And I've said this before. I want to say it again. I talked about it last night. I am so proud of this team. And, I'm not a part of the team. I don't know that last time I felt so proud of a team, even being from a distance, just seeing this group of ladies and how they love each other and how they play for each other. And, the chemistry, despite having someone like Caitlin Clark. I mean, I think that you probably experienced that maybe at times in your career. I don't know. Maybe give us some experience, but that could be a challenge, having someone who generates so much attention. And yet the team never seemed to resent that. It worked as a well-oiled machine. Just an incredible run to get at the national championship game. Just before we get to the game yesterday, can you just speak on this run from the Iowa women?
Yeah, amazing. I like a lot of you. I was enthralled by it. Lisa Bluter did, and her staff did a phenomenal job. They were fun to watch all year, and like you said, they knew what they needed to do to be successful, and they all bought in. And Caitlin Clark is a generational talent. She is just unbelievable, and what she's done not only for Iowa basketball but for women's basketball. Nationally, she's the talk of the country right now, and rightfully so. And the way she handled herself, the way the team handled, even the loss was really impressive, and shows the kind of leadership they've got at the top. And it sounds like a lot of those guys are coming back, so the future looks very, very bright. And it's not easy to do what they did again, but if there's ever a team that had a chance to do it, they certainly are.
I shared this on the show yesterday, Gary, and I hope you don't mind. I shared your comments that you sent to me after the game about the officiating, because everybody who watches this show, Gary, knows that. And I brought this up. We had Sam Logic on the show yesterday, and I told Sam, I said, Coach Close, whenever he's on the show and we bring up officiating, he almost always, it never fails, he almost always says, I didn't think the officiating was that bad. So when Gary Close texts me and says that was bad officiating, that says something. And you're not the only one who said that. I mean, it's been the storyline coming away from that game yesterday, which is very unfortunate for the sport.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the officials, and why did you think it was so bad?
I just didn't think they let him play. And they took the best players out of the game, and that's not what you want to see. Now, if they rightfully put themselves in position to be put out of the game, that'd be one thing. But there's just a lot of borderline calls that you just don't make in a situation like that. All the way to the technical foul to some of the offensive fouls, I thought were very, very marginal. Yeah, I did not think it was a well officiated game. And it's interesting. I listened to some of Lisa Bluter's comments, and it reminded me of the experience that we went through. Literally the whole thing. When we went to the Final Four in 2015, we upset Kentucky in the Elite Eight game. They were undefeated, and everybody expected Kentucky to win, and it was going to be a Duke-Kentucky rematch from the Leitner game. And we changed that. And then we thought we had a horrendous referee game. I could go into it in depth. I won't do it, but it reminded me of what Lisa was saying, where they couldn't communicate with the officials. That's when it gets really bad. If you can't communicate with officials, then they're not doing their job. I mean, that's part of their job, is to communicate to coaches and the players. I remember our players came over and said, we can't even talk to the officials. We can't do anything. And you get so frustrated. And so I really empathize with what she was going through. It brought back some bad memories, to say the least. But it's unfortunate, because when you're in the championship game, you want the players to decide the game, and the officials had as much an impact on it in some cases as the players did, and that's too bad.
I said this to Sam yesterday too, and Sam, for the record, Sam Logic, who is still a pro, and she's a great. I mean, there's no question in Iowa basketball, she's going to go down in Iowa basketball lore. She's one of the great ones. She was not as critical of the officials. I mean, she acknowledged the officiating was poor, but when I see Kim Mulkey, basically on all fours, out of her box on the court, there is a video that went viral, Gary, of her making contact with an official.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that? I'm assuming you did.
I don't know if I saw it, but I heard about it. Yeah.
And there was the ABC show. I could read Lisa Bluter's lips at one point. Lisa Bluter, you could see what she was saying. She said Kim Mulkey is on the court, and like you said, the communicate. So the women's game, and again, I know we don't have a ton of time to talk about this, but I just want to get one final comment in here. The women's game has taken off, and a large part because of Caitlin Clark. Not just Caitlin, but she's been a big part of it.
No doubt.
And I understand the officials shouldn't have an agenda to help a certain team based on what a certain player on that certain team is doing for the sport. But I do believe that you have to have some self-awareness. And if you're going to call a tight game, you better be very careful about when you choose to call a tight game. And I also didn't think it was very consistent. There were a couple. It just didn't. To me, it rubbed me. The whole thing rubbed me the wrong way. First quarter was about as bad of a quarter as I've seen at any level in a long, long time. So I just, I look back at that. Credit to LSU, played great. I'm not going to get into the Angel Reese discussion. I don't know if you have any comments on that, Gary. I know that's turned into the storyline. I think Reese is a competitor, just like Caitlin Clark is a competitor. I thought she went a little overboard, but it is what it is in the moment. Kim Mulkey's a heck of a coach. I'll give her credit for that. She knows how to win championships, and she's done it in an incredibly quick fashion in a couple of years there at LSU with a bunch of transfers. So the Iowa women will be back, Gary. I know they're losing Monica and they're losing McKenna Warnock. It looks like they've got a really good unit coming back, including the best player in the country in Caitlin Clark. They're going to add a couple of recruits. We don't know about Ava Jones' status. Kenise Johnson-Etienne will come in. I know Taylor Strimlow, who you're high on, will come in 2 years. But the sky is still high for this team. The future is bright, and I just couldn't be prouder of this unit.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, it was it just gave you a lot of joy watching them play, how hard they played, how well they played, how together they played. And when you make a run like that, that's something you'll never forget. It's incredibly difficult to do. And they knocked out an undefeated team that was just terrific, well-coached, talented team. And so they deserve an awful lot of credit. It was pretty neat to watch for sure.
One more thing on UConn and San Diego State, Gary, because I will say these two national champions over the last 2 days, very interesting personalities at head coach. I know nothing about Dan Hurley, very little about that family. You
Mhm.
probably do. Can you share anything about? Do you know Dan, and how do
I
you feel
don't
about?
know Dan. I actually recruited Bobby for Iowa,
Okay,
and we hung in there for a while. So I got to know his dad a little bit. I'm from New Jersey, and he was too. And at that time, he was a big Boston Celtic fan, and Brad Lowhouse had just gone there and was playing pretty well. So we hung in there for a little bit, but he seemed like a real good guy on the telephone. I love talking basketball with him. Obviously, it's a basketball family, and Danny's had his up and downs, but I tell you what, he did a terrific job this year. That team was so well coached. Their offense and how hard they play defensively, how quick they cut, how much they move the ball. He had some great quick hitters for his post player. I just thought he did a really, really, really good job.
all right. Let's transition here, Gary, for our final few minutes with you, and then we're going to let you get some shut eye because, as Chad brings up, Mr. Gary's up late tonight. Um, so let's talk about the Hawkeyes. I'm talking about the men here for a second. We talked about the women. This tournament, if anything, if you want to read into things, it's an indication to me that it's possible to win this tournament without being a blue blood. We saw 4 blue bloods in the Final Four last year, in spite of the really the launch of NIL and the launch of the transfer portal. But this year, so much more balance. No top 3 seeds in the Final Four. That's an incredible stat in and of itself. It
Yep.
tells me that programs like Iowa, it's not impossible for them to do what these teams tonight did or what the Iowa women did yesterday and getting to the national championship game. So my question to you, Gary, what does this Iowa team need to do to take the next step? And I understand the next step is not getting to a national title. It's getting to a Sweet 16. But we've been asking that question for over, 23 years now. What does this team, what would you say this team needs to focus on recruiting-wise, portal-wise, practice-wise? What do they need to do to get better to get to a point where you feel confident about them making a second weekend of the tournament?
Yeah, well, I think first off, it isn't easy to do. I mean, it is. College basketball this year was a little weird with what you talked about as far as the tournament goes, and I think NIL and the portal all have got something to do with it, and that may continue. And we talked about freshmen leaving early and things like that. So you can build something quickly, but it's not easy. Things got to come together. You got to be relatively healthy, and you got to have the right guys that can buy into what you're talking about. So you can't downplay what these teams have done, what the women have done. It's still hard. I mean, it is incredible. I mean, San Diego State makes that shot, at the buzzer to play in the championship game. That thing's short, and they're out, and there were probably other instances like that before. So it's still a very, very difficult thing to do. You got to have some luck. You've got to be healthy. You got to be playing well. I mean, some teams are going to go through lulls every year. The year's too long, and you just can't have your lull in March, and it happens. But I think from their standpoint, obviously they got some holes to fill with what they've lost. Literally almost at every position, but that's not uncommon with a lot of teams in the Big Ten. They're all kind of sitting around here seeing who's leaving and who's coming, and it's a really kind of a turmoil time of the year. And so the portal is going to be very important. Obviously they don't have much inside with Phillip leaving, and the other 2 guys just not. Well, one's left and the other one's not proven. So that's kind of where you start. I think they need a scorer, that can get them some baskets when they need baskets. And then depth. I mean, they need more players, but you can say that for almost any team with some exceptions. So the portal is going to be important to them, like a lot of teams. Can any of the freshmen come in and make a contribution? We don't know. And then I think the big thing, Corey, is who can make jumps, who can make big jumps and become become all Big Ten players? Can Peyton Sanford make a big jump? Can Tony become one of the best guards in the league? He had moments where he was, but it wasn't consistent. And some of those other guys that can Patrick get back to where he was? He's shown flashes of being a real good college player. He had a rough time this year with all that he went through. Can he come back and be one of the top players of big? So there's things there that can that you can build off, and then like we say, can any of the freshmen make an impact? Any of the young guys like Bowen and some of those other guys that got a little taste, can they make another step? So there's a lot of question marks, and a lot of it's going to be dependent upon how hard they work in the off season, how important it is to them, and how much they can improve in order to make the team better.
Gary, I'm going to throw you a curveball here. I forgot to ask you this ahead of time, so brace yourself. You remember when I hope you watched it. I sent you a clip of Iowa walk-on Amarian Nimmers. Did you end up watching that?
I watched a little bit of it, yeah.
What did you think of that? I mean, I understand it's just practice footage, and Amarian Nimmers, I don't know why he posted it to his YouTube channel, but it's been brought up to me on a couple of occasions, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I try not to read into highlight film. I was impressed with the little bit of highlight film there. It made me look at him and think, okay, I don't know how good he can be, but it looks the part like, hey, he's not your average walk-on. Is that fair?
Maybe. It's hard to tell. Certainly there are flashes, but doing something in practice and doing another thing in a Big Ten game is a big jump. So, but it's been done before. It's crazy how things, the freshman that Wisconsin had, he was not a heavily recruited, highly rated guy. He was okay. And he was one of the top freshmen in the league. He really had his moments, something like that. So it can happen. And usually teams that, make runs like that have guys that step up and become better players. And that's the fun part of watching in the off season, see who develops and who improves, and the teams that do are the teams that end up having better runs.
So you're telling us don't read too far into the Amarian Nimmers.
No, I don't think so. But
okay,
hey,
you caught me.
I hope it works.
I've seen
a lot of highlight tapes in my day.
Yep.
It's funny when they send those highlight tapes, they never miss a shot.
I get you. Yep.
They never turn the ball over. They never get beat on defense.
I have these conversations with Don Patterson all the time.
Yeah.
So he told.
I'll tell you a funny story. Jim Bartles was a good player for us at Iowa, a good sharpshooter, and there was a big Iowa fan from Wisconsin, and he would send me tapes on Jim Bartles all the time, and I kept watching him. And okay, and then he sent me one of his high school senior year. It was in the state tournament. He had like 45 points, and I watched the whole game. I'm going, wow, that was impressive. And from that, we ended up having a scholarship open up right at the end of the year. For some reason, I don't remember who left or whatever, but I went up and watched him work out and run track. And from that, and just felt he was a real neat kid. I said, I think this kid's worth a gamble. And we brought him down for a visit, and Coach Davis liked him. We offered him, and he ended up having a real good career for us. So sometimes a videotape tells you the truth.
Just real quick. So Don has told a story. He's told it on the air. He's told it to me several times. And I'm not ripping Don for being older and repeating himself, right? But you got these stories that you love to tell. Don tells a story of a coach. I want to say it was when he was a head coach at Western, and he had an assistant coach tell him, or no, he didn't say it to him. He said it in front of a group of people at some class or whatever the case may be. And this coach made the comment about how he could evaluate, he could tell by watching 10 minutes of highlight film, he could tell if a kid was Division I material. And Don has told me about how he took that coach aside after that class or after that session and said, Coach, don't ever say that again, because that's simply not true.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I just feel like I'm talking to Coach Patterson here, because you guys are
There you go.
You're right. And I've made this comment. I know you don't follow recruiting like you did when you had to recruit.
Right.
But I think Brock Harding may play next year because I think they need help at point. Since we were on last, Aaron Eulis has hit the transfer portal. Gary, I'm not surprised by that. I said that in the final show. I said I think he's going to be hitting the portal. And of course, we saw Josh Ogundele entering the portal. No surprise. I would be shocked if either one of those guys comes back. Remember, Ogundele entered the portal last year, decided to come back.
Right.
Iowa took him back. So they're in on Josh Cohen, big man from St. Francis, PA. And they're in on a kid from Merrimack. They've made contact with a lot of players. They got a couple official visits coming in there. So they're doing work in the portal, mostly in the front court. I just wouldn't be shocked, Gary, if we see Brock Harding play early and often. And frankly, Price Sanford, I'd be shocked if he doesn't play because of his ability to stretch the floor, his ability to make threes. Owen Freeman's a 6'10 forward. We may see all three true freshmen play. And usually I'm more cautious about saying that because I expect Fran to redshirt somebody. We'll see, and of course the development of Amarian Nimmers and what they can do in the portal will have a say here in how what Iowa looks like heading into next year, because they're not only losing Connor McCaffrey, they're not only losing likely Chris Murray hasn't made that official, they're also losing a really talented former transfer in Philip Bracha.
Yeah.
So
there's opportunity there for people to grab it. There's no question about that. There's a lot of minutes that are walking out the door. So probably three guys that averaged 35 minutes a game. So that's a lot of minutes to replace. So it's up for grabs.
Tony, appreciate the super chat. Look at Tony. This is $1 for every win of Connor McCaffrey's career. Appreciate that, Tony. And Lemansky as well. Thanks, Tony and Gary, for supporting our Hawkeyes. Thank you, Lemansky. Appreciate that. And any final thoughts, Gary, on Iowa moving forward? Any other thoughts on the roster? Anything at all that we missed?
Well, I think you've seen, when you talk about the NCAA tournament, it usually becomes more of a half-court game. That's just the way it is. And so I think their ability to get better at both ends of the court in the half-court, but I think you could say that literally for every team. I think when you look at UConn, they were really good. Not that they didn't get out in transition, because they did, but they were very effective in both half courts. And in tournament play, it tends to lean towards that. And so I think Iowa is one of the best transition teams in the country. They always have been. They're solid in the half court. I think there's room for improvement there. And then there's room for improvement on the defensive end. You saw a lot of really good defensive teams advance. And that's usually the case in tournament play, especially as you get farther and farther along and the teams get better and better. You got to be able to stop them. And I think both San Diego State and UConn proved that getting into the finals, that they were two of the better defensive teams in the country and deserved to be where they were. So hopefully they can continue to do that. There's
a reason why your Wisconsin Badgers got to 2 Final Fours. Talk about half-court offense and half-court defense. So
yeah, and we had, you need some luck. I mean, we beat Arizona to go to the Final Four both years. They could have won it all. Both those years, they were loaded. I mean, they had 2 or 3 guys that are still playing in the NBA now. And both games came down to 1 or 2 possessions that could have gone either way. So when I talk about luck, I'm not just kind of flipping that out there. You've got to have some luck. But you got to be in position to have the luck. I mean, if you're down 10, then luck's not going to help you. And to do that, to be in position to do that, you've got to get some stops, and you got to, you can't have a ton of turnovers, or you're not going to have a lot of points. And our teams were able to do that. And then we, in the 2 years that we did go to the Final Four, we had some talent. I mean, we had some pro players that are still playing professionally, some in the NBA, some in Europe, and we had some really, really good college players that probably could have played in Europe but chose not to. So, and it was teams that were real tight and very unselfish, and we got on a roll at the right time. We didn't play well in either. Well, the one Big Ten tournament we won, but the year before we didn't play well in the Big Ten tournament, and then got hot in the NCAA. And
yeah,
I told you before, we almost lost the We almost lost the game to go to the Sweet 16 in Milwaukee. If we hadn't been in Milwaukee, probably wouldn't even have gotten to the Sweet 16. So there is some luck involved.
My final takes on this: you got to be less reliant on the 3-point shot, which means your offense, your half court offense, just has to be better, right? Because
Yeah.
when the shots aren't falling, you got to be able to create offense somewhere else, and obviously the half court defense has got to be better. And like you said, and this, if this tournament taught me anything, and I'm not, certainly it's not new to this tournament this year, but it was kind of a wake up moment for me. If this tournament taught me anything on the men's side, you've got to be able to play when the game plays at a slower pace. It's just hard to control pace in this tournament, it feels like.
Well, it's much easier to slow it down than it is to speed it up. There's no doubt about that. And I think both those teams, when they needed a bucket, could get a bucket or get a foul called, get to the free throw line, and because of that, they could they didn't go through big droughts for the most part on the offensive end, because when they needed a hoop, I can't tell you times when Connecticut needed a hoop, they ran a play that got their big guy just a wide open look, and he was good. He finished or got to the free throw line, made his free throws, and I was real impressed with UConn. They really, as I watched them, I got more and more impressed.
Should Iowa go after Hunter Dickinson, who's in the portal?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, why not?
And Joseph,
he's a little different dude, but
he is.
When he's on, he's pretty good. Anybody out there they thinking, they've got to get, they got to see if he's a good fit. I mean, he can be a disaster too. I mean, for all the teams we talk about that got into the portal and got great players and have made a run, there are many of them that got some bad dudes that wiped their team out. So it's not as easy as it sounds. So you got to be careful.
Let me make a correction. I named all those freshmen. I missed one. Laji Dembele. I missed. I'm sure somebody's going to come in here and tell me I missed him. He may redshirt. He may play.
Missing those things. You got to know all that. You're the man.
I'm sure you knew him, Gary.
No. Like I said, the recruiting part is not a strength anymore. I got to pick up on that.
And Joseph wants to know what your handicap is before you go to bed.
My swing.
Okay. Well, I want whatever your handicap is, Gary, I want it to be better by the next time I talk to you. So, and Louis sums it up nicely.
I'll put it this way: my daughter has passed me, which I'm happy to say. She's a better golfer, and that's okay. That's what you want to happen.
I don't know if I can ask this publicly, but any word on Sam? Plans moving forward?
I haven't heard anything. It's kind of, it's end of the year and things are up in the air, but hopefully we'll hear something here soon. He'd like to be back if he could be.
Well, on behalf of all of our listeners, Gary, thank you for another very enjoyable season. I know that the fans enjoy it, but this wouldn't happen if I didn't enjoy it. I just enjoy the show immensely, and it makes the game more interesting, and it extends my joy of watching Iowa basketball an extra hour and a half. So,
well, I've enjoyed it too, and I, you saw with the women's run, even some of the things the guys did. The Hawkeye fans are just phenomenal. They always have been. They're very loyal. They love their team, and they're a special group. And when you see, it was real disappointing that the weather prevented that viewing at Carver for the semifinal. Can you imagine what that would have been like? Yeah. Beating South Carolina with that place packed, and it just shows how great Hawkeye fans are. So it's been fun for me to kind of reconnect with them, and then getting back to Carver this year to see all the games was a blast. So I enjoyed it too. It's a lot of fun.
Well, if you haven't moved to Augusta by next November, I'm going to recruit you back here and see if I can steal another season from you. But Gary, on behalf of everybody, thank you again for an awesome season, and get some shut eye. We've got some people who wanted to talk to you tonight, but I'm not going to. I'll take those calls once you're off. So thank you, Gary, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, go Hawks.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks, we've got Darrell MVP waiting on hold. We've got Doug, we've got Tony, we've got Ryan, all waiting on hold. I'm here to talk to you. I know you probably don't want to talk to me, all of you regular callers, but appreciate you being here. we'll continue here at Hawkeye Hangout for at least the next half hour. Before we get to that, a word from our sponsors. And of course, one of our sponsors, Under the Kitchen, helping to make this show happen. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. From the Man Cave, Kinnick Under the Kitchen, authentic, original player art prints are being drawn up for Hawkeye fans everywhere. From Under the Kitchen's Murray Legacy print, which features former Hawkeye Kenyon Murray, current Hawkeye Chris Murray, and current Sacramento King Keegan Murray, to football players Lucas Van Ness, Torrey Taylor, and Cooper DeJean, to wrestlers Tony Cassiope, Alex Marinelli, and Real Woods. Oh, and only one of the greatest athletes to ever compete at Iowa, Spencer Lee. There are so many options available, and they make great gifts. Visit Under the Kitchen on Facebook or at Under the Kitchen's new website. It's underthekitchen.square.site. That's underthekitchen.square.site. Check out Under the Kitchen today and get your authentic, original Hawkeye print. So again, appreciate Under the Kitchen for sponsoring our Hawkeye Hangout editions during the month of April. And we are here to take your calls, take your chats, and hopefully everybody enjoyed. I enjoyed the extra half hour or so we got with Coach Close. And I know we could have gone for a lot longer, but Gary has been very generous with his time, so we appreciate that. Let's get to Drill MVP, I believe. I think this is who it is on the phone. I guess we should answer like we normally do. Thank you for calling Hawkeye Hangout here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line? Good. How are you, sir?
Amazed and impressed with the UConn Huskies. I mean, to me, this is one of the most dominant tournament teams in the history of the sport. They never, to me, had a close game in this entire tournament. And that's pretty unprecedented, Corey. Were you as impressed with UConn as I was?
I was flabbergasted by UConn. I had UConn, just for the record, do you remember? You're not going to remember this. Do you know where I had UConn losing?
No.
Okay, thank you for just openly admitting that. So I had UConn losing. Let me find my bracket here. I had UConn.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I had UConn losing in the second round.
Okay. To Kansas, no, I'm assuming.
Am I looking at the right bracket here? What am I looking at? Let me see. Am I correct in saying no? Am I looking at my bracket?
St. Mary's?
No, man. I'm looking at my bracket here, and this has been this is weird, man. No, I had Iona winning.
Oh wow! You didn't even have them winning the first game.
I didn't even have them out of the first round. So that doesn't make me look very good, but man alive, I don't know that I've ever picked a national champion to lose in the first round.
Well, Corey, I'll tell you this, in one of my brackets, I had Virginia winning it. They lost to UNBC that year. So it could always be worse, Corey.
It could be.
Yeah. So I was just amazed with this UConn team. I mean, they had, as Coach Close was alluding to, lulls in the middle of the season, going 8-7. I saw in the Big Ten East out of their first 15 games, but they just turned it on, and they played at any type of style and just dominated their opponents that way. I mean, First off, they had to beat the Gales of both Iona and St. Mary's. I mean, Iona with Rick Pitino, historic coach, St. Mary's, one of the best group of 5 teams. Then what they did to Gonzaga, that was incredible. That was probably the single most impressive game throughout this entire tournament. Beating a potential national championship caliber team by 28 points, Corey.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
It is. And like I said, this gives hope. I mean, San Diego State's run, FAU's run, I understand there's always Cinderella stories to talk about, but this gives hope for the smaller schools, the mid-majors, and some of those Power 5 schools that maybe go forgotten, Power 6 schools that go forgotten. And I know you're a Kentucky fan. I'm not saying that this is the end of the era for certain Blue Bloods, but with the retirement of Coach K, the recent retirement of Roy Williams, now you've got Jay Wright out of the game. You've got Jim Boeheim out of the game. Larrañaga hasn't officially. Has he retired officially yet?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. But my point is, it's a pivotal time. And then with NIL and the transfer portal, and I'm not saying those two factors don't play a role in those guys' decisions to leave when they did. I don't know. We're entering a very interesting time. Obviously, with football, we're entering a very pivotal time with the Big Ten conference realignment, all that stuff, in addition to the portal and NIL. This is a very interesting time for college sports. It's going to be fascinating to see where things head over the next couple of seasons.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. And for me, Iowa, I was just kind of a symptom of a larger problem to me, and that's the Big Ten. I'm sorry, Corey. I just don't trust the Big Ten in March now. Like, they've burned me one too many times. This March Madness tournament for the Big Ten, to me, was unexcusable.
Okay, for the men, great tournament for the women.
Yes, for the men.
Yeah.
The women had the best postseason, in my opinion, in the Big Ten. The men had the worst, in my opinion. They were the biggest losers.
And they have been. They have been in recent time, and that's one thing we didn't really cover directly with Coach Close. But the Big Ten's got issues in this tournament. And I don't know if you want to attribute it to some officiating issues, if you want to attribute it to how the conference kind of beats itself up, or just style of play. I don't know what you look at. I know with Iowa, as Gary said, I think it's pretty simple. You got to play better half-court defense. You got to be a little bit more consistent with your half-court offense. I know that's a lot easier said than done, but you're right. The Big Ten has had issues through and through in this tournament. That's become a trend.
I don't think it's this year anyway acceptable for an ACC team. And you couldn't find an ACC defender this year. They were really bad, Corey. Like, we're talking maybe historically bad. And for them to have a team go further than any Big Ten team this year was just crazy.
Absolutely.
Unexplainable.
Yeah.
And I'll talk a little bit can I talk a little bit about the Iowa women?
Sure.
They had a great season, obviously. The game officiating, I know it's got a lot of controversy. The closest game it reminded me of when Gonzaga played North Carolina in the men's game. It was so tightly called. Every possession felt like a foul. Somebody who didn't really care about either team winning. It was just horrendous to watch. There was no flow, and it just ruined the atmosphere of the game itself. And it was such a shame to see.
And I don't think it was consistent. Do I think that the officials made a point of favoring Iowa or favoring LSU? I don't know about that. I think there is a Kim Mulkey effect, just like there's a Tom Izzo effect and a Coach K effect. Like, I think sometimes those coaches get favorable treatment when Kim Mulkey's basically on all fours in the middle of the court, jumping up and down like a maniac and not getting a tee. And then Caitlin Clark does what she does and gets the tee. That's a sign to me that, hey, we don't have consistency at the highest level of the sport. And this is supposed to be the elite of the elite officiating this game. So, yeah, we can go on and on about it. I'm not going to blame the officials for why Iowa lost. It's just unfortunate. And I think Angel Reese, just unfortunate how she acted. The people that want to go on this rant about how it's okay what Angel Reese did because Caitlin Clark did what she did against Louisville. There's a significant difference between doing this to your bench and doing this at an opponent and then following her around for 20 seconds doing this. There's a difference. I'm tired of people. I had somebody reach out to me earlier. Person who listens to the show all the time, appreciate him. Taunting is taunting. Okay, all right. So if someone pulls down their pants and moons another person on the court, that's okay because taunting is taunting? Come on, there's standards here. You can't say there's a one size fits all. There's no degree of infraction. That's ridiculous. And I'm not saying taunting is right. And what Caitlin Clark did, whether you want to call that taunting or not, she did it. And was she motioning to Haley Van Lith? I went back and watched that. I don't know that she was doing that towards Haley Van Lith. It looked like she was doing that towards her own bench. If you go back and watch the replay, I don't know if she was or not. Even if she was doing it toward Van Lith, it lasted 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Haley Van Lith is a friend of Caitlin Clark's. I just don't. And then the whole, well, I don't take disrespect. When has the team ever disrespected Angel Reese and LSU? I don't get that at all. I think there is a big difference between what Caitlin Clark did and what Angel Reese did. And there are some people who out there who have tried to draw inferences about the officiating and about Angel Reese, the Caitlin Clark decision, based on race. I don't know why people have to bring up race into everything. It has nothing to do with, none of this has, not in my opinion, has anything to do with race. I don't think the officials officiated it based on race. I don't think I know my opinion on the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese situation has nothing to do with race and skin color. It has nothing to do with it. I'm calling it like I see it based on the players and the behavior of each person. And I just didn't think what Angel Reese did was very classy. You've heard me, Drill MVP. You've watched the show. I have questioned Caitlin Clark's behavior at times. You've heard me do that.
Yes, I have.
So I want to get clear. It's not like I'm just defending Caitlin Clark, but I'm simply saying I do believe there's a difference between what Caitlin Clark did and what Angel Reese did. But with that being said, I don't plan on creating some video over the next couple of days talking about this issue because I think it's ridiculous that we can continue to talk about it. So it's been over 24 hours. I'm done talking about it, but you brought up the game. I just wanted to make that clear where I stand on it. I do think there's a difference between how Angel Reese acted and how Caitlin Clark acted, but I'm not going to blame the officiating for why Iowa lost the game. Iowa didn't play very good half-court defense, especially in that first half. Left a lot of three-point shooters open, and I'd give credit to people like Carson and Angel Reese for battling down low. LSU played great, and they deserved to win.
I'm glad you got that out of your system, Corey. It seems like you've been having that pent-up emotion in you. I'm just glad you got it.
Did what I said, did it resonate at all, Daryl MVP?
Yeah, it was a great rant. It was a great 5-minute rant.
I'm not trying to rant. What, a 5-minute? Listen, it wasn't a 5-minute rant. Drill MVP, you've only been on the line for, well, I can't tell because you've been waiting on hold for like a half hour. But anyways, I wasn't trying to rant. I'm just trying to explain I just don't understand why we have to make everything about race. I just get so frustrated. But that's just where I know people have those conversations. It's just people see things through those lenses. I get frustrated by it. I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people are frustrated by that. I'm not the only one on that. But I just wanted to make that clear that I wish we'd be able to just talk about the players based on who the players are and based on what the coaches and the people are, not have anything to do with that.
Well, I mean, sometimes in heat of the moment type stuff, people say and do things that they regret later on. So maybe that'll be the case with this. But, Corey, this sounds like a potential pent-up rivalry maybe for next year. Tell you what, I would love to see LSU and Iowa to meet up next year. And, I believe personally the NCAA tournament can manipulate a little bit of the seeding to get potential matchups they want to see later on. So
okay, by the way, I just want to, for the guy who just called me a D-bag in the chat, so I don't block people typically. I just blocked you. Okay, so there are standards here. If you're going to come in here and get nasty, I will block you. I don't care if you're an LSU fan. I don't care if you're green, white, blue, purple, or a mix of three. I'm going to block you. So just for the guy who just did that, you're gone. Have a nice day. Go ahead, Drill MVP. Final comments?
Oh, no. I was just saying that, with these types of, when you're the biggest star in your sport, you're going to get the most attention. And that means you're going to have players say and do things to you that they want to do to other players. But in some ways, that's kind of a compliment because they're idolizing you because you're the best. And Caitlin Clark should be considered and is considered the best player in the world. And I think she's going to earn that title for a very long time with the way she's playing. So,
see, and this is the problem right here. Drill MVP right here on the screen. Mario, I respect you. I don't know if you're an LSU fan or for what, but when you say Angel is winning off this situation, she don't care what y'all think. Just today, she hit 1 million on Instagram. All kind of black actors and black athletes have come out to defend her. What are we defending? I mean, if there's racism going on against Angel Reese, then that's absolutely wrong. And there's always going to be that, right? But what the criticism that I have heard has been based on her actions. I don't even understand why this is still why are we bringing up black actors and black athletes who have come out to defend her. I've also seen black actors and black athletes who have come out to defend Caitlin Clark today. Am I missing something? Somebody help me out. Am I missing something on this issue? Or am I just, do I not have the ability to, I just don't know why everything is so divisive. I just don't get it.
Well,
anyways.
anyway, Corey, I'll let the next caller get online. I know I've
Okay.
been on here for quite a while. Congrats to UConn and congrats to LSU for winning their titles.
Thank you, Drill MVP. Appreciate you calling in, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Have a great rest of your show, Corey. And when's the next time you plan on going live? Is it for football? Are you going to do some baseball or what?
Good question. I'll be so baseball. Absolutely. Once we hit at least tournament time, I don't know if we'll be doing much with post game shows before that, but definitely for spring practice, we'll have a Hawkeye hangout. Of course, we'll live with Mark Rogers every Tuesday. That won't end, but we'll have a spring Hawkeye hangout here at some point this month. We got spring practice going on. We got the spring game or spring scrimmage coming up here later in the month. So yeah, we'll be live.
Okay. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Have a great rest of your show.
Always appreciate Drill MVP, one of the great ones here. And let's get this comment off the screen. Let's go to our next caller, Doug. Welcome to the show, Doug.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I know you wanted to talk to Coach Close. So first of all,
no.
For not getting you on, I just needed to cut Coach Close loose.
Oh no, I don't want to keep him up past midnight. But yeah, I want to say it must be in the Story County water or something. I agree with about 9% of what you say on about most topics. But yeah, there were some people that made some comments in your comments on one of the videos about Ulyss and Ogundele leaving and made it racial. And I'm like, I was just like,
I know I've tried to explain this 3 times, but Doug, I just want this. I just wish that and I think that's hopefully what we all wish. Yeah. We wish that we didn't have to bring race into anything.
Yeah.
And that's the world we live in. And I understand there's racism out there, and that's a big, obviously a big problem. But with this issue, I wish we could just talk basketball and what happened. Yeah. Without making it, I want to have conversation. Like, I'm fine with having debate and talking controversy and, hey, Angel Reese did something, Caitlin Clark did something, who was in the right, who was in the wrong. Let's talk about it. Why do we have to make it something about something it's not? And for the people out there who made it that, shame on them. And the people out there who are implying that it was about that, shame on them.
It's hard.
I just know that when I'm thinking about what happened in any game, in any circumstance, I'm not looking at this and saying, well, this happened because this person is this race, this person. I mean, come on. We're just trying to talk sports here.
Yeah. And like I said, there's 1,000 other things I would much rather. It's sad. As you are aware, I'm not a big women's basketball fan, and I've watched all 3 of the last 3 games. I remember, I live here in Story County. I remember the first women's basketball game I ever went to was at Hilton, probably like early 90s. And it might have been with Lisa Bluter, with Drake against Iowa State. There might have been 300 people there, maybe.
Yeah.
We were, my sister's Girl Scout troop was invited, and it was weird. If you've ever been to Hilton with 300 people, it's weird. And they used to not even play the games at Hilton. They would play them at Forker, the women's PE building. And it's just how far they came with the women's game. We should be looking at that. And instead, we're doing stuff that tears down people.
That's why I said, Doug, after tonight, I'm done talking about the whole situation. I've made it clear where I stand on it, but moving forward, I'm just so proud of the Iowa team. Congratulations to LSU.
Those were awesome games.
They're awesome. They're awesome people. They're awesome players. They've made me a passionate fan. I know a lot of people are big fans that weren't before. Congratulations to Lisa Bluter and that whole staff. They've done a tremendous job. I just look forward to the future. It's going to be. I can't wait till November. And usually I say that based on the men. Traditionally I don't follow the women's game as much. Now I'm like, hey, I look forward to both of them almost equally amount. The equal amount.
Yeah, it's amazing when you do your video. I was so shocked last summer when you started doing some of those videos with the recruits for the girls. That like I said, that's big jump in that we're talking about that, and they deserve credit. They work just as hard. Again, I'm not going to be a feminist. I'm not going to be anything. They work hard. They deserve credit, and they're very talented people. And I hope we give them the respect they deserve. And Caitlin,
yes, go ahead, Doug.
Oh, Caitlin's just amazing.
Yeah. And I just want to say too, the support that we've had here on this show for the women's game has been outstanding, and I appreciate everybody who's been a part of it. I think the most successful, or I should say, the highest viewership video over the last 30 days has been a Taylor Strimlow recruiting video from months and months ago. I think it's up to like 11,000, 12,000 views. That's not because of me. That's because of the women's basketball team generating interest, and people are wanting to read about it and wanting to watch videos on the women's basketball team and the program in the future. So I just think it's great. And yeah, it helps business, but it also it's just great because it's great for the program. They need it.
Yeah, you wouldn't put those things on there if they didn't get views, And so yeah, it's a two-way thing, But you weren't mocking me with the Nimmers thing. I sent you that.
No, Doug, in all reality, I appreciate you sent it to me, but I had watched it when it came out because I follow Amaria Nimmers on Twitter, and I fell for the bait a little bit, but I don't know. Gary's being a level-minded coach, but I don't know. I think that Amaria Nimmers in that video, maybe I'm just totally falling for the bait. I think he's got a little something in there that
me too. I mean,
we could be totally off, man, but
yeah,
it's a practice video, but I think he's got something that could end up maybe being a contributor on this team and being a scholarship.
He lost one of the reasons. He did have scholarship offers to Eastern Illinois and Western Illinois. Illinois started getting on him. He missed 2 seasons. I understand it. Like, he missed an AAU season with an injury, so he didn't get recruited, and the COVID affected his recruiting. Because everyone said he was the better player over Brock Harding, and because I was like, I don't know, I never watched Quad City basketball, but I guess Nimmers took it to Brock quite a few times, and yeah. So the other thing I was going to say, I wanted to talk about the freshman class and the transfer portal. Did you watch any of the Illinois State championship game that Brock Harding and Owen Wilson played in?
I saw highlights. I didn't see. I didn't.
Not Owen Wilson. Owen Freeman. Owen Wilson's the actor.
No, you're talking about
Owen Freeman. Yep. Yeah, I don't want to watch Owen Wilson play basketball. No. Did you see that they took out an Iowa shirt at the Illinois arena and were showing it around, kind of like going, "We're Hawkeyes." It's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't think there will be a trio of freshmen. I know we have a fourth. I don't think it will be a trio of freshmen closer than what the 3 we're bringing in. I mean, if you put Price, like, drove over there, like, they hang out all the time. Well, I don't know all the time, but they're on podcasts together, all 3 of them. It sounds like they're pretty close, and I think that has to be a good sign for our future if the 3 recruits we're bringing in are really close. Yeah, and I don't want to forget the kid from New Jersey. Again, someone will probably make that about race, but yeah.
He could be really good. I don't know as much about Logi. I haven't had. I would love to have him on the show. I've invited him on. For the record, I've invited Logi Dembele on this show. I have not reached out to Price Sandfort. I've not reached out to the other 2. That's something that maybe I'll do this summer when we have time. But I'm excited about all of them, and they need help. In the front court. So Owen Freeman and Logi, those 2 guys have a chance.
I'm hoping they don't have to play 30 minutes a game, either one of them. I'm hoping.
Guys to develop.
Yeah. Well, the question is with the transfer portal. I saw some of the names. I don't know what Hunter Dickerson where we'd be at with him, but the kid, both the Northeast Conference kids, seem promising because they're both coming on visits. I sent you one of them, I think. The Jordan Minor, I think he has visits to Virginia, Florida Gulf Coast, Seton Hall, and us. I thought that was a weird combination. I would imagine Courtney Eldridge is the primary recruiter, I would imagine, because he's Northeast kid. But both him, Josh Cohen, I think is the other one. They both seem like they would be great front court help. I think we could. I don't know what people are expecting out of the portal. There's 2 Missouri Valley kids, the kid from Valpo, and the kid from Bradley that look promising too. Again, having 4 kids visit, how many do we take? How many do we get? Do we get any of them? Like I said, I think Fran's doing a lot different than what he did last year. Maybe with Brad and the NIL help, I don't know. But again, I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know. What are your comments on the portal and any of the guys that you've heard of so far?
I've been very hesitant, as you brought out. I've been very hesitant to jump on the bandwagon for any of these guys because until I see evidence that Iowa's in the final 2 or 3, I've seen Iowa lose so many battles.
Yeah.
In the top, when they're in the top 5, top 3, even top 2. I mean, think of the guys they lost last year.
Yep.
Theo Akuba. I mean, I know the kid that ended up at Iowa State, Oshuni. They obviously went after Fardaz. They went after Trey Mitchell. I just need to see things develop before I jump on the bandwagon of any of these guys. But they need help with at the 5. I'm intrigued by the fact that we haven't heard anything about Riley Mulvey. I wonder if maybe Riley comes back and gives this another year, and he's going to have to develop, though. This is year 3 coming up. They need him. They need him to go. Like, he's got to go.
Yeah.
And I don't mean leave. I mean, he's got to get going right now.
He seems like he could be really good. I mean, not really good, but he seems like he could be productive. I don't know. I never thought that from Josh, and I'm not trying to be mean. I just never thought Josh. Well, he just always was big.
Well, Riley. I don't know that Riley's got the. I don't know that he's the best runner. I don't know how much he fits. I mean, I understand he in high school he was a good shot blocker, rim protector. I don't know that he runs the floor great. That's one thing when I watch him that I question. And obviously, if you're
left feet.
Yeah, you almost wonder if, especially with a 7-footer, right? It's not often that you can get a 7-footer who can run the floor well. So that'd be a question. But I mean, I'm now coached to study him. I need to study him, I guess, more on film if I'm even going to give a rookie's opinion. But if he's going to be here, I'll say the same thing I said about Josh Agundale last year. If he's going to be here and take up a scholarship, he needs to be better and he needs to contribute. And if he can't contribute this next year, you kind of have to show people the door. I mean, I know that sounds bad, but with this era of the transfer portal, you can't have it both ways, or you shouldn't have it both ways. I don't think. I think you should have an obligation as an athlete. You got to fulfill your end of the bargain. And look, he can stay on scholarship, right? You're not going to remove a guy's scholarship unless he's done something, violation of team rules. But you're not going to get playing time if you're not better than the guys in front of you. And you hate, from an Iowa fan's perspective, you hate to give a guy a scholarship and let him sit on the bench for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I totally agree with all that. The thing with with Riley, I'm gonna go a different direction actually. A lot of people, because of the guys I named, those Missouri Valley guys, the Northeast guys, a lot of people go, they're minor college basketball players, but if you average 19 points in the Northeast, people have been putting their numbers up against our competition, the ACC, Big Ten. Those guys, like I said, Philip LaBrocha averaged 17 points a game at North Dakota. A guy averaging 19 points, like Minor averaging 19 points and was Defensive Player of the Year, can play in the Big Ten. If his production gets cut in half, he's still averaging 10 points a game and is a double-digit scorer. I don't know why people think, we should go after Hunter Dickerson, and it needs to be, if the guy's productive and we lose Ogundele, we've added to our roster. I don't understand, if you're adding to your roster, even if the guy averages 5 points, we need a depth. We need a back of 5. We needed any type of 5 last year to go with Phillip.
The 5 right now.
Yeah. Well, Owen probably.
I don't know.
Freeman. I mean, I guess
5. They don't have a. I mean, Riley Mulvey. They don't have a 5.
Yeah.
And nobody expects Owen Freeman to come in and start as a true freshman. That's hard to do at that position.
Yes.
We could see Brock Harding coming in and making shots. I mean, look at what J-Bo did year 1. But to expect someone like if it's not Mulvey, it better be somebody that they're going. There's a reason why they're going after guys in the portal hard. And like I said, I guess if Owen Freeman or Laji Dembele can come in and give you some minutes at the 5, maybe they do play as freshmen. But boy, you hate to rely on a freshman at that position. And with Franz Pedigree, in what they've done with the 2 Murray brothers in the front court, and what they've done with Luka Garza, Ryan Kriener was I thought really. I know he never was an NBA guy, but you look at production and development as his career went on. I think Iowa would be an attractive place for a big man. And same for the women. It'd be an attractive place for an Iowa female post.
I wanted to point out something too, because you kind of mentioned NBA, and because I'm on Basketball Reference all the time, and our 2021 team could have upwards of 6 or 7 guys to the NBA. Counting Jack Nungy. I'm not saying Jack Nungy's don't play a lot in the NBA, or Chris Murray's don't play 10 years in the NBA career, but and I know the NBA's changed with the G League and 10-day contracts, but you have a team that has 7 guys potentially play. That's the reason why that loss to Oregon has to be one of the worst losses we had, because that was the team that was really meant to go to the Final Four. I mean, I know that they had some weaknesses, and maybe some of those freshmen should have played a lot more. I don't know. I mean, CJ is CJ, and but I just wanted to point that out, that team had NBA talent on it, and that should be something we sell to these guys and the portal guys, and so that Phillip was a 3rd-team All Big Ten player this year, and you come here.
Great find by Fran. Bakari Evelyn, great fan, or great find, excuse me.
Perfect for that team.
Yep, absolutely.
The last thing I was going to say, why and again, I know you might not be an insider. I'm not. Why haven't we heard anything about Chris yet? That seems weird to me. Is this?
Well, it's not weird. It's not weird when you think about the fact that Keegan waited until May. He waited till the deadline. My guess is, and I can reach out to Kenyon, but my guess is that Chris will wait until the last day.
But we shouldn't read anything into that, right?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I don't think that's. Okay. I think that's just Chris probably exercising all his resources and making sure that he's making the right decision. Like I think he's gone, just like I thought Keegan was gone last year. I thought maybe there was a chance Keegan came back, just like I think maybe there's a small chance Chris comes back. But I mean, it's been made very clear, right? That's the intention, is for Chris to leave. He's been here. What, 4 years now?
Well, he had the prep year. He's been here 3 years in the prep year.
3 years plus a prep year. So he's 4 years removed from high school.
Yeah.
No, I think he's gone, but you never say never. We'll know in a month. Well,
my point just was, I was starting to read stuff into that, and again, I was like, why hasn't he said anything? Maybe he might stay. Until he said he's not staying. But again, I don't want to be one of those people that believes in leprechauns either. So like I said, I don't know what's going to happen with the roster. You've mentioned a lot of things with Riley. We don't know yet. I don't want to assume like you said, I don't want to assume anything on any of these guys, but at least we're getting visits, and that's a big plus. And again, I just want to thank everyone. And this has been an interesting year. I can't wait to next year. Hopefully the roster kind of shakes out, and I look forward to maybe talking to you guys over the summer or spring when we know the final roster. Again, thank you guys very much. Go Hawks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Doug. Go Hawks. 100%. We appreciate Doug being here throughout the season. Let's go to before we go to our next caller, appreciate Hawkeye Hangout. Or Hawkeye Hangout. Man, this is getting late. So I always do that. I start saying things that don't make any sense. That's what happens late at night. Hawkeye Howard is with us. Thank you, Hawkeye Howard. Thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. Want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Let me pull it up for folks here just so we can be sure who to thank here for our show. Ascent Nutrition, I've talked about them at length, but of course, they've got their new mushroom products that I've talked about on a number of occasions. If you haven't checked out their website, visit goascentnutrition.com. They've got their new agarikon mushroom as well as their lion's mane mushroom. Now, through traditional use as well as the science of today, agarikon is used to support respiratory and lung health as well as immune system health, neurological health, and it provides your system a healthy inflammatory response. Their organic agarikon mushroom, Ascent Nutrition's organic agarikon mushroom powder, is grown in the USA with top national safety and qualification standards. They also do genetic testing, and they grow their mushrooms longer than others, which ensures certain bioactive compound percentages are met and exceeded. Again, this is premium stuff from Ascent Nutrition. You can mix all of these mushroom powders into yogurts, cereals, granolas, other foods quite easily. And all of their products, including their pine needle extract, their humic and fulvic acid, as well as their awesome premium Ascent coffee, which I drink daily, can all be accessed by visiting goascentnutrition.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I've told you my email before, from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. This is a great company, folks. Again, visit Ascent Nutrition. Use that code Hawkeyes. Again, that's the code Hawkeyes for 15% off your order. All right, let's get to our next caller. Tony.
Hey, I want to start. This is this isn't. I want to start with something different than I was going to. Hold on, you guys are telling me leprechauns are not real. Next thing you're telling me, hold on, are you going to tell me professional wrestling is fake, Hillary?
Yeah, you probably enjoyed that. Wasn't it WrestleMania last night? I didn't.
I'm not that huge. I haven't watched it in 20 years, but yeah, it was last night. And I watched a little bit of the Monday night show. But I do want to start off with one of your sponsors. I want to say something.
Okay.
I was having some trouble with Iowa Smokehouse, and I directly contacted them because I didn't have any. But no, it's a positive, so don't worry, it's not a negative. So I directly contacted them, let the lady know I was having problems with the Hawkeyes code and everything. And she's like, hold on, well, let me check. And she checked, it worked on her end, but it still wouldn't work on my computer for I don't know whatever reason. But I talked to her and she walked through, I think I had like 8 items I ordered, and she inputted them all, made sure the Hawkeyes code got entered, and that I got my the 11 ounce thing for the Final Four for this week.
Yep.
So anyone who may have that problem, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you for plugging them, and just a reminder that deal right now is still active. So if you order through the 9th and use that code Hawkeyes, you'll also get, Hawkeye singular with Iowa Smokehouse. Use that code Hawkeye and you'll get a free 11-ounce market blend smoked meat stick pack. And of course, you'll get 15% off your order, and you put in a $50 order, you'll get free shipping.
I do want to say, people are commenting in the chat, this is my man cave in my garage. I do not live in here. People think I need to upgrade. This is my garage that I'm in my man cave space. So this is not what I live out of. That's my daughter's little house back there that she has fun with. So yeah, my dog. Yeah, I just put her out there to sleep. No big deal. Do you? I do want to ask kind of a lighthearted question. Do you, or maybe not lighthearted? Do you want a second or a minute or two to talk about how your Mavs are doing lately?
Remember what I said when the trade first happened?
Yeah. Oh, I do, because I asked you about.
Why is it that a normal person? I'm not giving myself any credit, but a lot of people saw it. Why is it a normal person like me could see that ain't a good idea, and yet Nico Harrison in the front office? Is it just? I wonder if it's just they felt like they needed to make the move because you had to get a star next to Luka. I wonder if it was more of a chess move to show Luka that, hey, we're intending to go all out to help you, because man, this just stunk from the very beginning, and it's not worked so far. I hope they can make the playoffs, but man, right now they're not even in a playoff team right now.
Yeah, I saw something, I don't know, it was on ESPN or whatever, talking about that they might just rest Luka and Kyrie, right? Or yeah, that's who they're gonna play, like for the next 3 days or whatever. But that kind of wants me to segue into something I want to say with people talking about the transfer portal. You say, okay, the Mavs not got a guy who's talented but may not fit. I don't think Fran's going to do that. He's not going to try to get the most talented player. He's going to try to get the player that fits Iowa. He will never bend with saying, this is our family atmosphere, and I'm not going to, waver from that. They have to fit his culture and atmosphere. And I know we've heard, and I'm sure you've talked about it before, that Fran has passed on recruits after getting them on campus, no matter how talented they are, because he doesn't fit what he wants to build and what he's already built here.
And I think that I'd be surprised if Iowa goes back after Fardaz Amac. I know he's back in the portal, but I think it's a perfect example. I mean, they felt like he fit last year.
They may, yeah.
Sour grapes because he didn't pick Iowa, but he's also back in the portal. There's reasons for that, but you're right. Fran's going to be selective, but he's made good decisions when he's went after players and gotten players. They've turned out for the better. Remember, Philip Abracha was not option A. They went after Liam Robbins that year, and Liam Robbins would have probably been a great fit.
Oh, yeah.
They said, no, okay, we're going to go after Philip Abracha, got him, and it worked out, man. Philip Abracha, what a great guy. What a great player.
Let's see. Oh, I'm excited for the summer and the recruiting. They actually get the summer trip this year, which they were supposed to have one in the COVID year. And of course, COVID happens. They couldn't have it. And I don't know. Do you know where they going?
I don't. I don't think it's been official. I don't think it's been released officially. I don't think.
Okay.
We'll know that within a couple months.
Okay. And I just wish, that's exciting that we get the summer trip. And this is another year that I wish we could have the PTO. I miss those days. I don't know if you remember them. The primetime league days.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I didn't go to PTL, but I watched every clip of video I could find of PTL league.
Mm-hmm.
So Randy Larson and that, they did a great job putting that thing on, and I miss it too. That created great hype. It's just kind of it created excitement and attention, and it was great for the fans. But it is what it is. Everything comes to an end.
And speaking of that, I want to make a few comments on the Nimmers video since that's been brought up. Iowa, when that got brought up, it got brought up before the transfer portal window, I think, opened. And I was a little scared that he was putting that out there to tease him going into the portal. You know what I mean? Him putting that video out. But now that he hasn't gone in the portal, I think Iowa made that video for him to maybe have the fans get hyped up of, look, this could be the future.
You're reading.
I'm probably reading way too much into it. Way too much.
I thought it was, maybe I'm reading way too much. I thought it was odd that he would be able to release all this practice footage that I would think would usually be pretty controlled by the athletic department. I wouldn't think they would just allow student athletes to release any practice footage they wanted. So I was surprised by that. Yeah, I don't know what. Maybe he got in trouble for it. We don't know. Maybe he got.
Yeah, who knows? Well, I would think not, because there's no way he could have had access to all that video. Because, the managers are shooting that video. I mean, that's practice video. How would he have access to cut that video? I don't know. Maybe he did. I don't know how that. I've never been a Division I athlete. I don't know
let's see how long we can stay up late night talking about why Amari on Nimmers.
Yeah. One comment about the game. UConn, the national title game, sorry. UConn did not lose a single out-of-conference game this year. And their average margin of victory in those games was 24 points. Their only losses were to Big East teams and transitive property. They lost to Seton Hall. You know who beat Seton Hall? I'm just saying.
I'm glad championship through the transitive property. Who did they beat in the Gavitt games? Did they play in that? Oh, they would have. Who did they play in the Gavitt games? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that it was posted over Twitter. I saw that UConn did not lose a single non-conference game this year. And their average margin of victory was 24 points in those non-conference games. Now, I think that was probably a Big East writer or something like that, because the Big East is a really good conference, and to show how good the Big East is.
Remember, they killed Iowa State, beat Oklahoma State by double figures, beat Alabama. What's crazy is like nobody was talking about them. At least I wasn't, and they were 4 seed heading into the tournament. And you got all these great wins on the resume. Beat Oregon, destroyed Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
They must not have played in the Gavitt games. I'm not seeing a Big Ten opponent on the schedule. So, yeah, quite interesting.
2 things that I'll close up. So, Coach golfs in his free time. What are you going to do with a little free time, Corey?
You know I golf. Have we talked about golf?
Oh, no, I don't know. Maybe I'm just asking. Like he talks about how much. Is that what you're going to do during your free time? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's not like I just, post game show's over. I'm done. I'm done on the channel.
No, I know, but you have a little bit of downtime. It'll slow down a little.
Good. Thank heavens. No, I look forward to golfing once the weather gets a little bit more consistent and balanced. I got a lot of stuff to keep me busy, but I look forward to the weather getting better. That's the one thing I love about college basketball, college football. It gets me through the roughest time of the year, and that is the cold months. And
it doesn't get that cold in Ames. You're talking to someone who lived in North Dakota and South Dakota here. That's nothing.
All I know is when you go from 77 degrees one day to 25 degrees later the same day, I think you have problems.
Well, listen to my voice. Remember, I flew back from Arizona and went to South Dakota in the same day. So this is the result of that weather. Did you watch the whole game through, the national title? I know you set up for the pod sometimes early, but did you watch everything through?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to sign off with you.
I was eating. I was having some beverages. I was not like glued to the television screen, if that's what you're asking, Tony. Tonight? Right?
Yeah, tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sign off with the same way Jim Nance did. Thank you for being my friend, or at least I hope you're my friend. He didn't say the end part. He just said thank you for being my friend. He did sign off as thank you for being my, because how he says hello.
Yeah.
I just threw in the at least I hope we're friends at the end. He does.
I like Jim Nance. I'll miss Jim Nance.
He's a pro's pro, I think. And you are as well. I want to say that too. So I look forward to the future stuff in the off season, and then start back up. And when is the first football game? Is it late August or early September this year?
It's early. It's first week of September.
Okay, because I know sometimes they sneak in like that the first week is like August 31st or August 30th or something.
No, I think it's first week of September. I don't know.
Okay. And I'll try to be a regular on those football shows this year. But thanks for everything.
Sounds good, Tony. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your support. Very much appreciate Tony throughout the season. And all 73 people who are still on with us here after midnight, we appreciate that. Let's get to our final caller of the night. Well, actually, we've got 2 callers. Let's not go to our final caller. We'll first go to Ryan. Mr. Ryan, how you doing, sir?
Good morning, Corey.
All right. Let me see. Let me find the comment. Let's see. Or somebody made a comment here that. Wait, it must be a ways up. Do you know the comment I'm trying to find here?
It's about my sign.
Yes. Where is it at?
I'll sell it to him for 50 cents.
50 cents?
Yeah.
Michael says we need Ryan's bar sign in the merch store. And it could be, we can call it Ryan's bar sign.
Ryan's bar sign. Hey, I just had to fill the wall. Well, I mean, with the NCAA tournament, thank goodness. Have you seen this before? You know what that is, right?
Of course, yeah. Look at you purchasing. That's courtesy of some.
I bought 3 of them. And 2 of them are gone in 2 days now. My children have a little bit of something to do with that too, but
underrated the Laura Beth salsa through Iowa Smokehouse. Unbelievable stuff.
It's unbelievable.
It is.
Yeah, and I'm proud to say, in honor of Mac McCausland, when we beat South Carolina, I got the chips in that salsa out.
Amen.
So. And of course, the bacon is the best.
Never do wrong with the bacon sticks.
Hope you don't mind me plug in a sponsor for a second.
Absolutely. Appreciate that, man.
So as far as Caitlin goes, I'm so worn out over the whole controversy at this point. I'm more interested in it dying down, and so we can get on to three big numbers. One that I brought up last night was Samantha Logic, and that's the number 88. Unbelievably, she needs 88 points to break Megan's all-time record. She's got 2,717 points right now. Needs 2,805 to break the record. I mean, if you think of the incredible career Garza had, and I'm just talking, player scoring, he had 2,306, and Megan smashed it, and Caitlin's going to just obliterate it. Another number is 811, and that's the number she needs to get to 3,528, which would break Kelsey Plum's all-time women's scoring record. And then the final number, and I should have brought it up with Samantha Logic, but she's 101 away from breaking Samantha Logic's assist record. So, and she'll probably finish top 4 or 5 in the NCAA all time. She'll get over 1,100 career assists. I think she's at 798 right now. So, if you assume 8.5 times, call it 35 games, it could be more, it could be 38. Let's hope. Good.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I mean, she is, in my opinion, the most declarated Hawkeye human being who's ever suited up in anything. There's some wrestlers that you could probably argue. I think she certainly has got the basketball thing conquered. You might say Chuck Long, but I don't know. I think it's Caitlin. I mean, who else is going to very likely break the all-time women's scoring record? That's just unreal. Unreal.
I agree.
As far I wanted to just say thank you if you relay it to Coach Close. Thank you very much for his time as well. Thank you, Corey, for your time this year. It'll be weird. Maybe we'll get to talk in September if you're doing the show. I'm assuming you will, I hope. But with the men's side, obviously, it's really hard to project next year until we see how some of this transfer portal stuff shakes out. Maybe if we get some commitments, we could maybe have an idea of what our team might look like.
Yeah, and I saw a couple comments in the chat. Gold Star Thrifter wants a show about the portal. We're going to do shows on the portal. I don't know. We're going to time those correctly because I just don't want to, we need to know more. And we got some visits coming up from some portal guys in the basketball side of things. So we're going to talk about the portal. And we'll have some Hawkeye hangouts where we can talk football and basketball. So, we'll definitely do that. And by the way, this comment from Sam, didn't want to skip over it. You brought up Caitlin Clark, Ryan, but he wants to know, was this Caitlin Clark's best chance to win an NCAA championship? Yeah, probably. Just by probabilities, right? This team was loaded with a bunch of vets. Now, next team, they're loaded with a bunch of vets, too, but they lose Monica Sonano, still some unknowns. But, man, I would never count a Caitlin Clark-led team out of anything at this point based on what she's proven. So, if she ends up in another Final Four? No, I wouldn't be.
I wouldn't be shocked. I know Gino at UConn is pushing Paige against Caitlin in the championship next year. I saw what they call the way too early top 25, and they had Iowa 4th. And I'm sure that's based purely on Caitlin. I will say this now, as much as we're pining for a transfer portal, and I'll be honest, I'm not completely up to speed on the recruits they have coming in. My father told me they have a 6'4" West Coaster coming in. Don't know much about her at all. But we don't have any open rides right now on the women's side. Now, very possibly 1 or 2 leave, and that opens it up for a portal transfer. But I will say, we all kind of thought from a post standpoint, the sky was falling when Megan graduated, and Monica steps in, has an okay freshman year, is phenomenal from there on out. She's got Jan Jensen, the best post coach in the business, and I would say don't count out Addison or Hannah either. You got the leadership along with Caitlin, with Kate Martin and Gabby coming back. There are some ingredients to make some noise next year. You better believe it. And will it be enough to, we were thrilled to make the Final Four. To beat South Carolina, it would have almost been one thing to make the national championship game just to hear other fans saying, yeah, well, you didn't have to play South Carolina. It didn't go through South Carolina. No, well, it did. It did. We're the only team in the country that beat them. And I can't be prouder. I really can't. And, I will never watch a men's game next year and feel as bad as I did most Courtney Green games or Paul Sleesbag games this year.
Isn't it, by the way, isn't it pronounced Sells? I found this. Isn't it pronounced Paul Sells?
Paul Sells Slees? I don't know.
Okay.
Or Little Larry. Little Larry actually isn't as bad. He's not as bad. But,
I actually, I like what's his face, the guy that Fran stared.
Kelly Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
He's not a bad ref. And it's just kind of interesting how some coaches can pull some real antics, right, and completely get away with it. Izzo goes nuts. Bo Ryan would go nuts. Kim Mulkey, she had to have lost 5 pounds just running up and down, running to half court, running, 10 feet into the court, touching referees.
Running into the official.
I just thank goodness my mother has better taste in clothing than her. But
and Ryan, was I being hard on Angel Reese, Kim Mulkey earlier? Was it? Did you feel like I was being unfair to them?
I feel the same way. I think
Yeah,
here's the thing. It'd be one thing if somebody attacked Carson's character. All she did is kick her ass in the first half, 5 for 5. She just, she was an assassin.
She was great.
And if you're gonna attack her or something like that, that would be wrong because all she did is what she was supposed to do.
And I'm really happy for Jasmine Carson because how great would that feel? You're a single-digit scorer. You're a role player throughout the season. You come in and have that game. What an awesome moment for an unheralded player on that roster. I couldn't be happier for someone like Jasmine Carson. Is it Carson? Jasmine Carson.
Carson, yeah.
Yeah.
It's my son's first name, Carson. He actually said jokingly that he wants to change his first name. He said that at halftime because she was just standing out. They have a phenomenal team. I kept wondering how in the hell were they a 3 seed? I mean, they were phenomenal. They really are. Angel Reese included. And I do think she committed about 12 fouls. I think she got away with climbing bats a lot. I think the officiating just beyond sucked. And I'm not saying that's why we lost, but I sure would feel better going down knowing we had a fair shake. Now, I was totally expecting us to get hosed by the officials in the South Carolina game, and to my shock, we were not. It's easy for me to say that now that we won. I get it. But as far as Angel goes, a 1 second gesture like that, and it's over, to somebody she knows is a little different than, and it didn't even bother me a bit. In fact, when Angel was standing next to Caitlin at the free throw line, and the first time she did that, I kind of thought, well, yeah, you got to eat it, she won, and to Caitlin's credit, you're down 15, shut your mouth, and she did. It was the complete blatant running around, having to get in her face and just being demonstrative. And I mean, if that's not the definition of taunting, I don't know what is. But, the fact that if it's a technical foul, 1 second into the game, 10 minutes into the game, or with 10 seconds to go in the game, if it's a technical foul, like they say, just to, if nothing else, prove that you're impartial. Call a T on her for that. Sorry, you're going to win the national championship anyway, but we're not going to put up with that kind of stuff. Tee her up. And of course, you knew that wasn't going to happen. It was, and I don't hate Angel Reese or anything like that.
No.
I mean,
I just thought it was.
She's young, immature.
I just thought it was uncalled for. I thought it was unfortunate. That's what I'd say. I just thought it was unfortunate.
It was unfortunate. Now, hopefully, we get a chance to play LSU next year at some point. And Caitlin is probably not the bear you want to poke, and there's a real good chance that we won't have the same officials again. And
I think there's a real good chance that those two teams play early next season. Iowa wins.
I definitely do, and I think Caitlin will just put her happy little smile on her face and show some grace, but then will be an assassin. Now, the one thing about Angel I didn't like is, you may have seen it go viral, but she flipped off an Iowa fan walking into the arena. That went a little viral. I don't know.
I mean, if that's what happened, I saw the picture. If that's what actually happened and that's what was going on, then that's inappropriate.
I mean, I'm assuming a 14-year-old with her mother probably didn't shout anything insulting at her or something, but whenever you see still shot pictures, you never know the context either. So,
exactly.
I don't know.
I don't want to assume that about Angel Reese.
I don't either. I don't
either. A game with her, but I don't know the flipping of the bird, which was inappropriate. Whoever she was doing that to, we don't know what was said on the other side of it. I'm not saying it's okay to do that, but you're right.
It'll be fun if we get to play next year, though, and
yep.
Hopefully Lisa can at least talk to the officials this time. So, anyway, great year, Corey. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, Ryan.
And have a good evening and good night.
We'll be back with you next time.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right. Lemansky with a super chat. Thank you, Lemansky. He says, Jill Biden publicly said she will tell Joe he should also invite the Hawkeyes as well as LSU to the White House through CC. All things are possible. Thank you, Lemansky. Appreciate the super chat, sir, as always. And we had said, Ryan, second place in the bracket challenge. Congratulations, Ryan. And he wants to know, how do bracket challenge winners get their Iowa Smokehouse e-gift cards? So I'm going to make sure. I always like to give ESPN. I know with their fantasy sports, they sometimes it can take up to 24 hours to make corrections. So the scores, the final tally marks, if you will, the numbers are, I guess, not official. We won't call those official until tomorrow, but I'll go ahead and share the unofficial winners of our Iowa Smokehouse bracket challenge here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. If you competed in this, thank you for doing so. As you can see here, I will make my screen bigger. So I did okay, but I did not win, which is good because I wouldn't have taken the prize anyways. So congratulations to our top three here, Hayden Hawk Romig, as well as ESPN. This is kind of a generic name, but my best bracket, ESPN fan 5800103, ESPN 982-85890, T-Dog 31. Those are your top three winners, folks. So those three winners need to reach out to me. And you can do so a couple of different ways. Either reach out to me through my email, from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. That's from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. You can also DM me through Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. What you need to do is take a screenshot of your ESPN account, of your profile on ESPN, to prove that you are who we think you are, who you claim you are. If you're one of those top three winners. Again, these scores do not go official until tomorrow. So we'll go back and make an official announcement tomorrow once these scores are 100% official. But again, our unofficial winners congratulations to these 3 brackets. Iowa to the Final Four, my best bracket, and T-Dog 31-3, all of which picked UConn as their national champion winners. And I saw Harpo in the chat earlier. Are there any prizes for number 4? Well, I'm sorry, Harpo, there's not. But I'll give you a big attaboy, because if this is you, Harpo, pretty darn good score, 920 points. Again, not far out of 3rd place. And you also picked the Huskies. Very few people picked UConn, as you can see, as I'm scrolling down through the different winners. I picked Purdue, which, of course, the Boilermakers lost in the first round. So, again, appreciate everybody being a part of our Iowa Smokehouse Bracket Challenge. Again, that's how you do it. Send me an email with a screenshot of your account so that we can prove that, yes, this is you are one of the 3 winners that we just showed on the screen. Michael wants to know if we could see staff changes next year for Iowa men's basketball. Unlikely, Michael, unless Sherm Dillard walks away. Obviously Matt Gatens and Courtney Eldridge are new to the staff. If Sherm retires, maybe it's an opportunity to bring in a defensive-minded coach, but I wouldn't get my hopes up on that at this point. There was a comment earlier that I missed, I think. Maybe not. Let's see here. I'm not seeing the comment now. So if I missed it earlier, I apologize. I appreciate everybody, folks. You guys have been awesome. Season's been awesome. And again, thank you for being here. A reminder to please subscribe to the channel. I'm not going anywhere. We'll be here throughout the off season. We'll be talking spring football in the coming weeks. We're here. Well, we're on YouTube each and every Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. Again, that's 4:30 p.m. Central Time for Iowa football, Iowa Hawkeyes live at 4:30 p.m. Central Time at Iowa football at the Voice of College Football on YouTube. Myself and the one and only Mark Rogers live every single week. Of course, you can also sponsor the channel, sponsor different segments on our channel and our channel with Mark Rogers. Email me from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. Again, that's from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at From the Hawkeye on both Twitter and Instagram, From the Hawkeye of the Storm on Facebook. You can also become a premium subscriber by clicking the join button next to the channel name here on YouTube. Shop Amazon with us. We've got an Amazon link. Any of your purchases that you take part in through our link will help the channel, and you're basically contributing to the channel by shopping with us. And of course, Hawkeye of the Storm, From the Hawkeye of the Storm merch, also available. Click the link in the description below. All right, let's get to our final 2 callers of the evening. Thank you for calling Hawkeye Hangout here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
This is John, Corey.
Hey, John.
This popped up on my YouTube feed today. It was Holly Rowe on the Dan Patrick show. And Dan Patrick said, Holly, he goes, this is what I want. He said, I want a double bill next season. The first game will be the men's game, and the second game will be an Iowa LSU rematch. And she picked up her phone and she said, I'm working on it. And he goes, no, that's what I want. And she goes, I'm working on it.
I would not be. Would you be shocked if that happened? I wouldn't.
Can you imagine the TV ratings for that?
Exactly. Why wouldn't you want that to happen if you're Iowa, if you're LSU, and if you're the Big Ten and the SEC? Why wouldn't you want that to happen?
It'd be big, or at least I think it would be anyway.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be great. And I'd love to see Iowa and South Carolina again. Maybe that's too much to ask for, but I'm assuming Haley Van Lith is back. I don't think she was a senior. If let's get a rematch of the Iowa Louisville game. I mean, there were a lot of great storylines in this tournament.
But with the Georgia game and the LSU game, with Iowa getting so much press and attention, would it almost been better for them to fly under the radar? That maybe them to Georgia and LSU felt like they were being slighted because they weren't getting the attention. And
that's possible. That's possible. I mean, I think LSU. I mean, I don't know how you really fly under the radar on the national championship game. I mean, a lot of people were talking about Angel Reese and that team. I mean, you could argue they were underseeded based on a weak non-conference schedule as a 3 seed. They won a lot of games this year. So maybe that's the case. I think a bigger storyline is the foul trouble, and not to make excuses, but foul trouble is a factor. And I think playing late Friday and then playing early Sunday, that's unfortunate. There's things I would do to improve the quality of that national championship game. But again, with that being said, LSU played great. But I think there are things that the NCAA could do to improve the quality of that all-important game.
Boy, LSU, they just couldn't miss.
Well, it helps when you're wide open.
Yeah.
They were wide open a lot in that first half. Iowa did not play much of any perimeter defense in that first half, and they struggled. And there's lots of room for improvement on the defensive end. As great as they were this year, lots of ways to improve on that side.
And when the men played in the NCAA tournament and we lost at Fran's press conference, the last question, I believe, was from a reporter. And he said, Fran, your last 3 games have all been losses. Are there any off-season changes? And Fran said, no, none. And he got up and walked off. It shouldn't surprise me, but I was a little disappointed.
I guess I'll have to go back and watch. I guess I missed that. Fran's, he's always kind of like a prickly pear. He's just not always the most patient.
Maybe it's me, but he seemed like the last 2 weeks of the season, he was real snarky with the reporters.
Well, they were losing. I mean,
when the pairings came out and they were doing the Zoom call, they showed his Zoom call and they asked him, what's your thoughts on the tournament and the pairing? And he goes, thrilled like I am every year.
Yeah, okay. I saw that. That was snarky. That's Fran. I'd like to. Here's my plan, John. I plan on getting Fran back on this show during the off season, and I'm going to ask him some tough questions. And I'm not, I'd like to, we'll see how he answers. I really do respect Fran. I think Fran gets a little snarky at times, but I think he's a good person, and I think he wants to win more than they are. I think that's part of the frustration. That's part of why he reacts the way he does to the media sometimes. I think he's just as frustrated. He's more frustrated than we are that this team has not experienced real March success besides the Big Ten tournament last year. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he says no offseason changes, but who knows? Like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with Sherm Dillard. My guess is he returns, but there are other things that can happen, and certainly the portal's a big storyline.
Well, to get maybe Lisa Bluter or Jan Jansen on the show?
That's absolutely. I plan on that. Yep. Definitely want to have Lisa and or Jan on the show.
Okay. It's late, Corey, so thank you, and I guess have a good morning.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your call as always, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate John being a part of the show, and we've got our final caller of the night. Tom, welcome to the show, Tom.
Good to see you, Corey.
Good to see you.
Thanks for everything you've done all year, Corey. Football and basketball. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Tom.
Corey, this is probably a little bit better question for Mark Rogers, so sometime I'll have to call into him.
Okay.
But today I was looking for some video feed on Hawkeye women coming home, right? They come back into the Iowa City, and KCRG was there, and so watched a little bit. And on my YouTube, there was, some clips, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp on the national championship, the women's deal. And so I started listening to that, and it was just horrible. Didn't listen to all of it.
Well, isn't that what you normally get to Skip Bayless?
Yes, I don't normally listen to it. If it wouldn't have been for the Hawkeyes being in the championship game, I never would have listened to it. But so then as I scrolled down through there, you get these 10, 12-minute clips from ESPN, and it's all the controversial stuff that they want to talk about. And so my question is, they just want to beat up on Iowa. The new TV contract coming up. Is this what we're going to get? A big SEC Big Ten brawl? Is this what we're going to be on ESPN Sports Center now? The Big Ten? Are we going to be their punching bag down the road?
Well, if they can't, are you talking about the men?
I'm talking about football, basketball, whatever. When it comes to ESPN, are they going to side with the SEC and we're just their punching bag?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Well, The thing is that there's going to be, I think there's a fine line that they're going to tread with that, because you can't just completely isolate a huge part of your viewer. Like, it's still a lot of Big Ten fans are going to watch ESPN, so you can't completely isolate them, Tom. From a business standpoint,
Right.
you can't
Right.
completely isolate them. But there's going to be the bias there, and there already is with people like Paul Feinbaum, and yeah, that's
Right.
gonna be there. Absolutely, it's just going to get exacerbated when you have basically no Big Ten games on ESPN anymore.
I mean, Shannon Sharp was going after Caitlin and her ponytail and no tattoos.
But hold on a second, but they're not even ESPN; they're Fox.
But all these clips that come up, it's just like bashing ESPN. Sure. It's all about hacking on the Big Ten.
Yeah, but again, TV money, TV contracts, loyalty,
viewers. Yeah. I'm just afraid that it's going to trickle into football season, and
if it does, it does. The Big Ten's got to play better in postseason play, whether you're talking about football or basketball. The Big Ten has played decently well in bowl games. They've got to win a championship. They've got to win a championship. The men haven't won a championship since no men's or women's basketball team has won a championship since 2000. And somebody other than Ohio State has to win a Big Ten football championship, and Ohio State hasn't done it in several years. So, yeah, it's on the Big Ten to perform better when it counts.
So that's all I have tonight, Corey. We'll let you go.
Appreciate you, Tom. Thank you for calling in, sir, and for watching the show. Appreciate Tom being a part of things, and all of our listeners here this evening. Thank you for being here, and again, for Coach Gary Close. Thank you, Gary. We unbelievable few months. It's been so great. I said this last year. I'll say it again this year. Having Coach Don Patterson and Coach Gary Close on this show makes it worth it each and every night. Thank you, folks. A reminder, again, I talked about all the ways to support the channel. Reach out to me if you were in our top 3 of our Iowa Smokehouse Bracket Challenge. I'll be back with Mark Rogers tomorrow over at our Iowa Football at the Voice of College Football channel at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. Donate to the channel by means of the links in the description below. Have a great night.